This is his Apollo 11 medallion for your contribution to the United States space program.
50 years ago today, humans first walked on the moon. David Strangway, who spent the last 9 years of his life retired in Kelowna, was a principal investigator in NASA's lunar program during that Apollo 11 mission.
He was a principal investigator during the Apollo 11 mission, and then in 1970, he actually moved to Texas, to Houston, we all moved, and became the chief geophysicist. So when I asked him, what did you do at NASA? His explanation to me was that he was in charge of lunar and planetary operations. It was a big part of what they were doing and why they were doing it, and it helped discover how old we are, how old the moon is, what the similarities and differences are. I mean, he's got the Order of Canada, and he's got the Governor General's Award, and he's got honorary degrees from, there's Wilfrid Laurier, and University of Victoria, which is where my daughter studies right now.
Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin collected almost 50 pounds of material from the surface of the moon. Some of that material ended up at the Strangway household.
He brought them home in a suitcase into Toronto International. And the customs asked him, do you have anything to declare? And he said, oh, just a bunch of moon rocks. And they laughed and said, oh, haha, and sent him on. And apparently that night, in the middle of the night, the customs, they had gotten wind that he had brought moon rocks in. So they came knocking on the door in the middle of the night. I guess it was a little bit scary. Everything was above board. I don't know what forms you sign for moon rocks, but they were signed. He apparently had a box of rocks in his office at UBC. Which sat there for his entire tenure from 1985 to 1997. And the fate of those rocks, we're not completely sure. We thought they went to the Vancouver Planetarium. However, we're not certain.
After retiring in Kelowna in 2007, Strangway died suddenly 2.5 years ago.
He died December 13th, 2016. At one point in the evening, my husband brought me out and said, you have to look at the moon. And I looked up at the moon, and it was huge and beautiful and just one of the more spectacular moons. And when I looked it up later, it was the last supermoon of 2016. And the supermoon is when the moon is the closest to the Earth. So we felt that the moon was bending down to say goodbye to my dad. We cannot look, none of us can look at the moon without thinking of my dad, because he literally brought us the moon.